Bring it up, bring it up. Well, let y'all know, man. Today is the minimum of effort. Do not give up. Do not feel like you're tired. When you tired, think of last year and think of that record. Every time I get tired or I think I can't go no more, I think of that record. Last year wasn't it. That ain't us. We can make it. Have some heart. I get emotional about this. I'm about to cry because I care about y'all. Do your best. Let's go. Lions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go. Football, boys.
Welcome to Patriot Sports,
doing.
Part of the Six Pack Coverage Network. I am Will Dundon here with Nick Truschel and Seth Coggin. And boys, football's back.
We're here.
The pads are popping.
Football. It's awesome.
Everyone's expectations are at the highest they will be.
Yep.
At least as a collective unit, I think I'd say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone's undefeated.
That's right.
Yeah. Everyone's made big strides in camp. Like everyone is feeling pretty good this time of year. Everyone's looking pretty good on the practice field.
Yeah.
That video does kind of get me hyped. When an NFL guy shows that kind of passion, it's really cool. I think that's why a lot of people connect with it.
You're right.
Like,
it's different.
It's a Detroit Lion on a training, but you actually see that kind of stuff all the time. It's usually like, I used to see it'd be sometime random. Yeah. Random summer practice. Some guy, it'd usually be some little receiver or something would step up and everyone would almost be like, dude, like, we're out here in the 100-degree heat. We got 15 more days of this, man. Like, we'll get up.
Take it a little. You're saying take it easy, like
you're taking it out. You're taking it a little too seriously. But see, I wasn't getting paid millions to do it. It's cool to see a guy care that. Like, I don't know. Usually summer camp's just kind of fun. They're messing around. I like that. Hey, yeah, I'd like to watch. It's a good promo for Hard Knocks too. Talk about a good promo spot.
I mean,
if that team's that invested in a summer practice, I'm pretty down to see what's going on. I mean,
the Lions could be the truth
Detroit over.
The Detroit over, dude.
I've seen one Hard Knocks clip. All right, Detroit over for me,
dude. I think part of it is too, like, it's Detroit, it's the Lions, like it's Dan Campbell and what was that? Is it Jamal Williams, the running back?
Yeah, it was Jamal Williams.
I mean, just like a blue collar, like gritty running back. Like, it just all fits so well together. And it gets me really excited for Hard Knocks and just football.
Wait, Hard Knocks is pretty soon.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, it starts tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
If you're listening,
nice.
For our listeners, it is tonight. It's Tuesday night.
Yeah, you better get ready tonight, boys. I can't wait.
Dude, that's going to be good to watch. Like that's a good team that, I mean, obviously it's always kind of a bad team that I think usually it's always someone who missed the playoffs or something. But the fact that it's the Lions and Dan Campbell just adds a little more like I feel like America is really cheering on the Lions. I don't know who their rivals
are. The Lions America's team?
People are talking.
We're talking about it right now. We'll see after tomorrow night whether that. All right, I'm looking into them. See who they might have as a little sleeper action.
I don't know. I'm excited just because Dan Campbell's everyone.
He's just a football guy. Yeah, everybody loves Dan Campbell.
Talks about how he drinks 80 ounces of black coffee when he wakes up in the morning and then gets going.
What is Dan Campbell doing other than foot? Like, seriously, truly,
literally nothing. Like, he is
really
one of those guys. Like, it's football. Like, it may not be watching film or whatever all the time, but he's thinking about football. Like, he's doing something. Probably lifting or something too. He is
in fantastic shape.
Yeah.
Big dude.
The Super Bowl winner as well with the Saints. Tight end.
I'm pro Dan Campbell. I hope he succeeds.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's just himself. If the Lions are good. I mean, they're a historic franchise. Like, they've kind of been crappy for a long,
historically, they're historically bad.
Yeah, they're historic. They're
a historic franchise.
NFL
yes, but they're historically bad.
They've really just been around like a pretty long time, and they had Barry Sanders. Like, they had some good players, but yeah, I mean, they've never won a Super Bowl.
No, they play a lot.
I don't even think have they been to a Super Bowl?
I don't think so. They may be the one who hasn't been to one.
Yeah, they've been in the NFL since I think it's inception after the merger, and they have not been to the Super Bowl.
There are more teams than I thought, though, that hadn't won a Super Bowl. Like, I think it's more
tough.
than a handful.
It's tough to win the big one.
Khalif Raymond is on the Detroit Lions.
He is.
Former Titans wide receiver 1, according to our buddy Thomas Swafford, the lawyer.
Khalif Raymond would always be sitting there in waivers in fantasy football, and I'd be like, "Ooh, do I think he's gonna just catch like 160-yard touchdown?" Because it's kind of worth it. Then it's kind of worth it.
He had a couple of games where he'd catch one of those bombs just because he's a speedy guy, and if he gets past the defense, it's going for 6. If he can get his hands on it.
I mean, yeah, if he gets past the defense, yeah, I hope, yeah.
Didn't this is in the former vein, didn't Tajay Sharp, didn't he end up playing with Detroit too? Here?
He was on the Vikings, and
he was on, maybe that's what I'm thinking of, man.
He was on the Browns for a little bit too.
Well, he's on the Falcons now, right?
Yeah.
Is Mariota, is he starting?
Yeah,
I think he's starting.
Wow. That's awesome. Good for him, honestly. Shout out. I hope they do good. Shout out Artie Smith.
Redemption year for Mariota.
Well, and that's kind of the perfect guy to start in front of Desmond Ridder. Similar play style, and a guy who's got a good head on his shoulders to show him how to do it, and good enough to win games.
Yeah, and the pressure's often this time. Like, he talked about so much of just how the Tennessee kind of broke him. And after just kind of after seeing Tannehill come in and lead us to the AFC Championship, he talked about all the mental health issues and just kind of how he was down bad. But you got to be down bad to rise from the ashes and become that Phoenix, become that Falcon, you could say, and win the NFC South. So Tampa Bay, are they in trouble? Is Atlanta coming for him?
I don't know. I think you could rack up a few wins in that division. I doubt you probably don't take down Tampa.
And the Saints,
I could see you.
Jameis and the Saints are going to be a threat as well.
I don't know though. Who's the new coach on there? And
Arthur Smith, man.
No, New Orleans.
Saints.
Oh.
They got a lot.
It's Dennis Allen, I want to say. Let me confirm that. Yeah, Dennis Allen. Who was head coach of the Raiders from 2012 to 2014. It's been the Saints DC since 2015. So they're going to have a defensive-minded program there, and a guy who's been in the system for 7 years. I think I'm buying the Saints this year. Jameis has a lot of weapons. Picked up Jarvis Landry to go along. Michael Thomas coming back. We'll see if Alvin Kamara, what his deal is, because he's still dealing with that when he was in Las Vegas and beat the crap out of that guy with his group of security team, or I forgot
about that. Honestly,
he's still dealing with some of that stuff, so he could face a suspension. But I mean, they're still pretty loaded from the offensive side. Just have to see how their defense plays out.
Dude, Mariota, that's a weird situation because if you're a quarterback, you got to have kind of a killer mindset. Like I get the whole mental health stuff, but part of it too, it's like, dude, you gotta, and it looks like it looks like he's coming back, and I hope he does. But part of that too, man, that was kind of his knock. People wondered if he was maybe a little mentally weak.
Even guys on the team said he wasn't a very vocal leader.
And I wonder if is it confidence? I don't know. And you can't tell with quiet guys like that, because sometimes there is that quiet confidence, but then other times it is maybe he was young. I mean, that's the thing. He came in as a rookie to play quarterback, and it's not always easy to come in and be the top dog right away unless you're just kind of you are that guy. And he was never that guy even in college. He's kind of a lead by example type guy. So I hope now that he's older and everything, he is kind of a more vocal guy, more confident, because I would love to see him succeed in Atlanta.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Most Titans fans would.
Yeah, I hold nothing against Marcus. Obviously, he needed to go. It wasn't going to be a good fit long term, and Tannehill's been serviceable. But I mean, Mariota's still got a lot of talent. I mean, think about those years with Oregon in college, him and Jameis Winston battling against each other, and now going to be playing against each other twice a year. So that'll be interesting to kind of spark that little rivalry they had going as the two top quarterbacks in the NCAA. So, yeah, I hold nothing against Marcus, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in Arthur Smith's system, who obviously we saw what he did with Tannehill and Derrick Henry and how well we had, what was it, the first or second best offense in the league that year when Art was the offensive coordinator. So it was just our defense was giving up 35. We would have to put up 38 35 points every single time to get a win.
Yeah, I think we scored more touchdowns than anyone in 2019 and 2020.
Yeah, that sounds
combined,
right.
Something like that. Did y'all get a chance to watch any of the preseason game last week? The Raiders and the Jags?
I got to see some highlights, but I didn't watch it live. Unfortunately, I was planning on it, but got sidetracked. But the
first
Raiders,
touchdown of 2022, Amir Abdullah.
There you go.
There you go.
Good omen, baby. Good omen for the
that is a great omen.
But no, it was pretty good. Obviously, like Derek Carr didn't play, Trevor Lawrence didn't play. Josh Jacobs did play a little bit. Kenyon Drake played. Trayvon Walker, though, looked pretty good. They had kind of the trenches, pretty much good on good out there for a good bit of the first part of the game. He was pretty good. He got a sack. I know he had at least one. But yeah, number 1 pick Trayvon Walker for the Jags, looking like a pretty solid pass rusher.
And people were a little weary about him just because of how much his stock rose kind of overnight, it seemed, to fly up to that number 1 spot. But yeah, so he gets a sack in that Hall of Fame game, like you mentioned. And the coach over in Jacksonville, what is it, Doug Peterson? He's been raving about him, and he's excited. So
I don't think the Jags are going to be necessarily good this year, but I do think they'll be a lot better. And a lot of people won't think much of that because of the whole Urban situation and whatnot. But I do think, I mean, that's probably
they
a
can
major
win
part of
6
it.
games. Maybe I could see them winning 6 games and being competitive.
Well, I just think having Doug Peterson as your coach too for Trevor Lawrence will be a good thing. Didn't Peterson play quarterback?
That sounds right. I mean, he was obviously the head coach for that Philly team that won the Super Bowl and had Nick Foles performing incredibly well. But yeah, as a player here, he played in the NFL for a little while. I'm trying to see so he was a quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, no,
pretty legit.
My dream
can't be worse than Urban. I'll say that. Like,
correct.
It can't be worse than Urban. So I would expect they do make a little bit of a jump at least.
Yeah, it's like even if they win 2 games again or something, as long as like it's just not Urban, like they don't have to deal with
as long as there's
stuff.
not organizational failure and like everything, it is better already.
Did y'all know Doug Peterson is a national champion? He won the FCS national championship in 1987 at Northeast Louisiana. So, I mean,
wow,
dude's won a national championship. He's won a Super Bowl. I mean, it's championship pedigree right there.
Welcome to Jacksonville.
We'll see. Yeah, the true test.
Yeah, that is the true test of a coach.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I was reading Jacksonville since 2017 when they were the beginning of the 2018 season after they went to the AFC Championship. They have the worst record in the NFL. So talk about a fall from greatness after that run where they beat the Steelers in the divisional round, made it to the AFC Championship, and lost to the Patriots, eventual losers to the Eagles, like we were just talking about. So yeah, that Jacksonville team had Bortles had like 30 touchdowns that year. Jalen Ramsey was flying all over the place. Yeah, their D-line was nasty.
Was nasty.
AJ Bouye and Jalen Ramsey were locking people up in the secondary. Their defense was just stout, and it crumbled pretty fast.
Yeah, it did. It went downhill. They went from true AFC Championship to like obsidian almost the next season. Like they were terrible that next season.
It was like everyone was out on Bortles. Ramsey wanted out. And I mean, honestly, at that point, it's like, okay, well, you have a totally different team now. So
yeah. Everything looked different. Yannick
and they lost all those. They even
team,
traded
right?
some of those players and didn't get like they
anything
traded
back.
A generational player like Jalen Ramsey and didn't even gain anything. It seems like I mean, I'd have to go back and really look at the trade, but it hasn't helped.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, they still got a way to go. They're they're a miserable franchise, so let's call it how it is. But yeah, so Ramsey was traded for 2 first-round draft picks and a 4th. But as I'm looking at this article here, the Rams thumped the Jaguars in the Jalen Ramsey trade is the headline.
I wonder who they does it say who they drafted with those picks? That might be old.
So
yeah,
the Jaguars took Travis Etienne, the 25th overall, and then Clavon Chasen out of LSU. So both of those guys haven't really done anything.
I mean, Etienne hasn't even played yet.
Yeah,
so.
he's been injured. So
he is good though. I mean,
I think he'll be pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. And we forgot about how good Fournette was in Jacksonville for those first couple of years as well. Like
I totally forgot.
He was a force.
I really did.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, he wasn't amazing. He was good though.
He was good. He was definitely a good running back.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that the Saxonville Jaguars are no longer and that they have fallen from graces to let in the 2022-2023 NFL Super Bowl champion Tennessee Titans to take stranglehold of the division. And
going
just
for
really
3 in a row.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Winning 3 in a row would be pretty awesome.
A nice little three-peat of the division.
Three-peat real quick and like with no real, like I don't see an organization right now on par with Titans in our
the way we drafted.
No,
I mean,
no, like they're all steps behind. There are actually leaps trying to catch up with us. And one in Indianapolis would be the closest comparison, and their hopes are in Matt Ryan. That's an even more desperation move than us. Like people say our quarterback situation is bad. Well, Ryan Tannehill has done pretty dang good in the last 3 years. Like he's done pretty
he was great in 2019.
Yeah,
great. All his numbers.
And
now he's obviously
your hopes are on this
but
old Matt Ryan who can't move. He can't. He's so immobile, and that's kind of your hope. Yeah, you're not kind of where you might think you are. I think the Titans are definitely a little bit ahead, so they need to go ahead and capture the third because a lot can change in a year. They need to go ahead and get 3, and then extend this one to all the way.
Let's not forget about the Houston Texans, though. Mills at quarterback.
Davis Mills kind of chopped the Titans up a little bit.
He did. Well, that's just
on the.
I mean, he might course with the Titans. Rookie quarterbacks just dice us up for some reason.
In divisional opponents is always different. Like the Texans always kind of dice us up. They almost know Vrabel too well. You know, he was a Texan.
Do y'all remember when Gardner Minshew was a rookie? His first game against the Titans, he had 3 incompletions the whole game, just absolutely shredded us all night long.
He did. He shredded.
I mean, he played a couple times. Like Minshew's just kind of a gamer. Like that's just what he did against us. Like, and I'm kind of a Gardner Minshew fan. I don't even know where is he right now.
He was on Philly. He came in for relief. Yeah. What was it last year and got a win out in Philly.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Yeah. So I think he is still. He's still on the Eagles.
Who would y'all say is the best quarterback in the AFC South?
I mean, we'll have to see. It's definitely
right now. Next year,
Ryan.
Next year, Ryan Tannehill's the best quarterback overall. Matt Ryan's the better quarterback.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Matt Ryan's just a few years removed from.
Yeah. Overall, Matt Ryan's had he's borderline
Matt Ryan's
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he is very borderline Hall of Fame. He's like that.
He had that MVP season though that was incredible.
That's the thing. The MVP really, I mean, that
MVP and Super Bowl run.
Yeah, but no wins though.
I do kind of like I always heard the saying, like, if he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, you know it. So, like, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers.
Phillip Rivers' stats are so good. Like,
Phillip Rivers,
they're nasty all time.
I feel like you got to think about it, though. I mean,
I
just think he's not
pretty easily and said yes.
But like, he's not it's not like Dan Marino.
Yeah, but Dan Marino's all time.
I think it's honestly kind of similar. Like, in a way.
Yeah.
Dan Marino
Rivers, 8-time Pro Bowler, passing yards leader in 2010, passing touchdown leader in 2008, completion percentage leader in 2013, passer rating leader 2008, comeback player of the year 2013. Now he never won anything, went to a couple of conference championships. But
I'm just saying that hurts a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Like, you can talk stats and everything, and I think that's important.
I think it's like his high level over his whole career is the impressive part. Like he didn't have 1-2 good, like he
had like a
stacked
great
together
10 seasons.
Yeah, he stacked together. He probably had about 12 seasons of like really high level quarterback play.
Yeah,
that is very hard to sustain.
From
So for that, I kind
2006
of would
to
be
2020, he never threw less than 20 touchdowns in a season.
Yeah, see, like just to hold down a position at a very high level. Like every one of those years, he was probably a top 5 quarterback in the league for like you said, kind of about 14 years straight. Like maybe not quite top 5 at every year, but he was one
hovering
of the
around top 5
guys.
He was top 10 for sure, I'd say, for those 14 years where he was the
and I mean, at
after
times he's higher. He had seasons where he's number 3, number 2. I don't know. He is a little tough because he quarterbacked in an era completely dominated by Manning and Brady, who were a step above.
Yeah,
they were a step above that next group of guys. But I honestly put him, I know like Big Ben would have several more championships, but I would put him honestly like right at the same level.
I was thinking Big Ben, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers.
Because Phillip Rivers probably has a little more impressive stats, but Big Ben has a couple world, he's got a couple rings.
Yeah.
So
I would give
that does matter.
I would give Big Ben. I would give him like the nod in that. Eli Manning's kind of a good one because the dude just like found a way to win Super Bowls, and it was really good for a long time. But also there were times where you're like
bad seasons.
Yeah, there were some bad.
Yeah. Well, Phillip Rivers really didn't have a ton of bad either.
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Yeah, they didn't really win a lot, but they were consistently like in and around the playoffs.
Yeah.
He did not win in the playoffs like at all. That is the tough thing. Like he go to one AFC Championship game for real? And like
1 or 2, something like that.
Yeah.
Because they early on in his career, 14-2, 11-5, 8-8, 13-3, and then he had basically 9-7 or 8-8 for 5 years in a row. Chargers kind of
I do kind of forget. Yeah. I forget they were very, very mediocre there.
Yeah, from 2010 to about 2018, they were either so they had a couple of seasons where they were pretty bad, 4-12, 5-11, but they were pretty much 9-7, like 80% of those years through the majority.
Yeah, that's not great to be honest. Yeah, that does.
Doing a little more his defenses were pretty horrendous throughout.
He did have a tough. And you gotta have a good defense to win a championship.
Defense
wins championships. They don't just make up that saying for nothing.
Yeah,
it's true. I don't know many super high level quarterbacks or Super Bowl winning quarterbacks that just had no defense.
Yeah, it's hard to think of where the defense was truly like a liability, where it's like my defense is a problem.
Yeah,
I feel like Aaron Rodgers has had some like poor defenses.
Yeah, but he's also
not
only
when he won the
one
Super Bowl.
championship.
Yeah. And Mahomes, like the 1 year, while the Chiefs have had some pretty bad defenses, the 1 year where they actually won it all, their defense really, really came together in that playoffs and was pretty stout.
Yeah, they were. That is the only time he ever won. His defense was legit. But we think of the defenses that win Super Bowls as legit because, I don't know, I feel like to be a great team, you do have to be good at both, you can't just be good at one thing to win at the highest level. Like you do have to be very good. But that has held him back. And the year he had a really stellar defense, they did win it all. But Brady always had great defenses.
Yeah,
that's why he probably has a few more rings than he would. Like I'm not going to stay here and dispute that.
Brady would have 2 or 3 without the great defenses, but he wouldn't have all of them that he does, I think, without all those. And Belichick scheming. And a lot of things.
He's had truly great defenses.
Yeah,
like all time.
Even the last one, the last Bucs
the Bucs defense was amazing.
Yeah, they wreaked havoc on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they were killing him in the backfield all game long. So, I don't know. It's definitely something to look at.
I mean, it makes me think of when Brady threw 3 picks in the second half against the Packers in the NFC Championship and still ended up winning the game.
That's pretty insane.
People do forget. I had almost forgotten, and I did extremely care about that. The fact that he shouldn't be getting away with that. It's not fair.
I don't forget because I threw that in the lawyer's face a lot, but he declined to acknowledge it, I guess.
Yeah, Brady's had some lucky moments, but you got to admit he's been pretty freaking great.
Yes.
Yeah, to consistently put yourself in position to get lucky, and it means you are. I think that is kind of true greatness. Is like, well, I just put myself in position to get lucky in big games, and
the games were close enough.
And sometimes he didn't. Like,
happen.
think about sometimes like the Giants catch and stuff. Like their perfect season when he was probably actually at the peak of his greatness, he gets kind of unlucky in the Super Bowl and loses.
It's a good point.
It kind of does. If you truly are that level of greatness, it does kind of, but I would like to point that, like, I don't know how you guys feel on this. I imagine we probably agree, but to me, as I was growing up, watching football, like, loving football, and yes, I probably watched a little more Peyton, but I just felt I actually saw Peyton Manning as a better quarterback. Like I truly thought,
talent wise, yeah,
he just was a better quarterback. Now it didn't equate to more winning, but that's why I think it's hard to judge purely winning championships as the basis of a quarterback. But as it's also tough for me because as a quarterback, you are the true leader of your team. And so you are kind of judged by your team's success as a quarterback. And so, yes, Super Bowls should matter as much, but I don't know that. And that's a whole rabbit hole and stuff like Brady versus Manning, even though Brady's longevity has kind of definitely in most people's minds, probably given him the edge.
Yeah, because he's been able to do it for so long. Is the thing that's amazing.
I still think mano a mano. Like I thought Peyton was better.
Put them together in their primes. I think Peyton's probably the better talented quarterback. Honestly, I'd put Aaron Rodgers in their primes. Honestly, probably a little bit better than Brady. But the fact that he's been able to maintain at least consistent enough play to get his team in the playoffs and then give his defense a chance to make plays in the playoffs and keep him around till he's 45. I mean, that in itself is an unbelievable accomplishment.
I think Aaron Rodgers is more talented, obviously, but really you can't play that game with Brady because really there's not a lot, but there's a good amount of quarterbacks. Like Patrick Mahomes is more talented than Tom Brady. You know what I mean? But I will also say Aaron Rodgers is not a better leader than Tom Brady. I think everyone would pretty much agree with that.
Worse leader, I would say, than Tom Brady.
That's the thing. You can't, because I would agree. Peyton Manning's a different story though, because I think Peyton's great at everything. But I mean, Seth, I agree with you. You can't discount a guy. You can't just look at, oh, he did better at this, he did better at that. There is something to be said about truly leading your team and winning Super Bowls. One of the big questions does come down to, you can play the what if game, and it's like, okay, what if Peyton was drafted by the Patriots and got to him and Bill Belichick, two of the best minds in football, got to work together? What would have happened then? That's all you can do.
They could have butted heads though, honestly.
I don't know.
Because Peyton basically was the head coach, I feel like, pretty regular. He ran the offense.
But Belichick let Brady. I mean, it wasn't like he was telling Brady what to do all the time, especially later in his career.
Yeah.
There was a trust there. But again, you can't really play that game when comparing quarterbacks because it's all hypothetical. All you can do is kind of go off what we know. And what we know is Brady has however many Super Bowls.
I think it's interesting that they both did win Super Bowls in multiple cities, which is something I always, as a LeBron guy, in a different way, I use his winning in 3 different cities, winning, multiple championships, and as more impressive than winning, say, for instance, Michael Jordan's 6 in one city with one coach, one system.
Basically one team.
It's you prove that you were a superior but in other ways it's more impressive to do it, to try and start and build that championship team in multiple locations.
Different coaches, different players.
But so I think it's interesting that Brady and Manning both did that. And that's pretty cool that, they won Super Bowls even later in their career after their original team, who they'd been fantastic for, kind of was done with them. They still went and won Super Bowls elsewhere.
Yeah, because Peyton wanted to stay in Indianapolis, but they had Andrew Luck, and they didn't want to keep him.
The whole neck thing happened.
Yeah, because he broke his neck, missed the whole season. Then they went after Luck, and they're like, "All right, well, he's the new guy, so see you, Peyton."
Well, and that's interesting too, because you did have the Patriots dynasty going on. Like that was a true dynasty. Like same coaches for the most part. I mean, obviously there were some assistants that went in and out, but same system. Same for a good few of those Super Bowls, like same heart of the defense. That's like a lot of leaders, a lot of vets that are Hall of Famers, now. So that's something to pay attention to. Not that it's a huge deal, but yeah. I think we're in the minority of 3 guys that would all agree on Peyton over Brady, though. We probably have some listeners that are.
If you put like 100 just random dudes from across the country in a room, I don't think 3 of them are, agreeing too often.
No, I'd say honestly, I feel like we're at the point now, like 70 or 80% would probably say Brady.
Yeah, probably.
I think most people have like Brady fair. As the GOAT.
If I said greatest quarterback of all time, like if I truly had to say that now, yeah, I'd probably go Brady. But better quarterback, see, that's where it's that's the thing. That's where that debate is always so tricky, because it's like truly better quarterback. I'd go Peyton. Like watching him run an offense, what did seem more in control. Tom Brady's offense seems very in control, but Peyton Manning seems in control of his offense. He's just so dialed in on what every single person is doing. Brady has always had more system success, which is okay. That shouldn't be a knock on a quarterback, because he's running the system. So, but anyway, that's what it is fun to debate and talk about. And that's why sports are fun, because you can
never solve it.
Yeah, you can never you
can look at it from so many different angles.
Yeah, you could put in. You're not even putting other guys into that conversation. Like we're even recency biased.
Joe Montana, Dan Marino.
Yeah.
You can make arguments for both those guys for sure.
It's like when you do the Jordan LeBron debate, and then like 1 out of 1,000 will be like Kobe.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not even like. I don't even think Kobe's in the discussion of those two, but I think you could make arguments. No, but it's like the same or like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it's like the same with quarterbacks. Like everyone would be like Peyton or Brady, and then you'd have a random guy be like Joe Montana or something, like fill in the blank. Aaron Rodgers, like fill in the blank.
Yeah, a lot of I feel like Aaron Rodgers is a perfect guy to throw in there, because he does have the talent, but I think
like I don't know,
universally accepted, most people would not put Aaron Rodgers at that one.
But like if you ever look, and I've said this on this podcast numerous times, but if you ever just go look at Aaron Rodgers' best throws on YouTube, obviously that's a whole thing in itself, just watching amazing throws back to back. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone with as much arm talent as
consistently making just the stupidest throws.
Yes.
It has been impressive to watch for a long time. And he did almost learn from the perfect person ahead of him in Brett Favre. And then he reeled in Brett Favre and became like more accurate version with throwing way less interceptions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that was always Gunslinger was always
Brett Favre kind of didn't really mesh with him in the beginning, did he? Because there was kind of a little beef. Yeah.
Probably not. They're both like not seeming like Aaron Rodgers kind of like a douche. Like
he's ostracized his family completely, hasn't he?
It's not.
Yeah. He's not even that though. Just like, just playing football as a guy, as a quarterback. Like you have 2 alphas and you have one guy who's a proven great against this like punk dude with all this talent in the world from Cali.
He's super cocky too.
Yeah.
Who wants your job? Like, and the other guy does not want to give it to you. Like, which is how it should be. I mean, that's I understand. It's
just like, and why I think we were talking about earlier this season, I might have jumped the gun a little bit on the Malik Willis Tannehill thing. And I've kind of seen it. Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. Like these guys are competing for their livelihood. It's kind of nice to see some of that dog in these guys to fight for their job. And Tannehill's got a mentality. All I care about is winning football games for this franchise right now. So,
yeah, but that's even different too. Like Tannehill and Malik are like, they're buddies,
Yeah,
like it's not the same dynamic. They had dinner at Tannehill's house. It was all good. But no, Trucho, what do we want to jump into next?
So I don't know if some of you Pay Dirt listeners, or actually I know some of you Pay Dirt listeners do remember the fantasy football season last year when our team member Reese Bennett was still on the pod with us. Now he is serving his country, so he is on a long-term hiatus. The three gentlemen on this podcast today are back in the Dirty Dozen fantasy football league this year. Couple of switch outs. So we took Reese out and Seth has replaced him. And then we lost another guy, Nick Thurman was replaced by Will's little brother, Wes. We've got Wes, Aggie Wes, Vol Wes now in the league here. And I'm excited to talk a little fantasy football. This obviously gets everybody fired up about the football season, gives you a little bit more vested interest in those games outside of the Titans or outside of your home team. So why don't we kick it off? Will, I know you've got a couple of things, a couple of tidbits about fantasy football. We can kind of throw out some cool stuff here that we've got. And then after that, I'm going to kick off a quick boom and bust player of the year for fantasy football. Who do you think is going to outperform expectations, and who do you think is going to greatly fall short of expectations? But Will, I'm going to let you kick it off here with a little insider info for this fantasy football season.
Okay, well, so we'll get into it in a little bit, I guess. I do have a couple like potential boom or bust or maybe sleepers. I do have a couple questions for y'all, maybe as far as maybe fantasy strategy when you're drafting. What do you like to do? Do you like
this?
Do you like to go? A lot of guys go running back first. A lot of guys go
Yeah.
quarterback, receiver, just depending on what you do, best available. What do y'all? Let's say PPR league, which is what we're doing. What do you think you usually attack with? What's your strategy? Just going in maybe those first few rounds.
It's never been good. I'll be honest. Like I've never been fully satisfied with my strategy. You know what I mean?
So yeah,
I know exactly. I've never
what
left
you
like
mean.
the first 5 rounds and been like, yeah, I made the best decision at every time. I'm not prepared enough. Probably that's part of it. And then your draft positioning matters a lot. You know, whether you're I think the first and second round positioning matters the most, because then it just gets into, things start going. But because if you go first and last, I mean, that's such a wide gap. You got to be near that first 3. You got to be careful because you don't go for a while. Those first couple picks you need to hit on your first couple picks. Like you need to get good guys that are going to produce all year long. So you got to be careful with those first couple picks, but I don't really have too much of a strategy. See who's the best available, see what my needs are. You're building a roster. You truly are building a roster. So, but it's different than just a football team. Cause I tend to go to just players I like as like a football player. Like, this guy's a good player, but I do need him to produce actual stats. So balancing all that out. I don't know, Nick, you probably way more strategize than me.
I got a couple of strategies here. In terms of drafting early, I think running backs early and often are important in fantasy football. I mean, they can just put up numbers with how often these guys score touchdowns, and a true RB1 is hard to come by. And it's not really easy, or it's pretty rare that you find a guy in the late rounds that really produces, unless you get somebody like Jonathan Taylor in the 3rd or 4th round, wherever they fall. So I think you pretty much, unless there is a guy like Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp, where you are around that 8th, 9th, 10th, kind of late round pick, you could potentially go one of those receivers and then get a running back, like let's say DeAndre Swift, for example, kind of that 1A or 1B, you could say running back. So it kind of depends on your draft position a little bit, but just looking at Fantasy Pros right here, the top 7 players they have ranked are all running backs. And then Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson, the 2 guys I mentioned, round out 8 and 9, excuse me. Then Najee Harris at 10. And something I kind of forget about a little bit is some of the tight ends that act like receivers. Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews are up there in the top 15 as well. So I think
those are like the 2 first round.
Yeah,
it's
the 2 like
if you're late, yeah,
you can
if
you
you're
can
late
reach
in the
for one of
first,
those
maybe
guys.
you go for the tight end.
Yeah, and just lock up, because tight ends, if you get that guy like Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews that is going to put up 20 a game, that is a 3rd receiver at the tight end spot. And then if you hit on somebody like let's say Deebo Samuel late, or you get Jonathan Taylor, or maybe a James Conner. Like last year, I picked him up off the waivers and he ended up being running back 4 or something like that.
That's a steal.
Because he scored so many touchdowns. So if you get somebody like that and you have a tight end like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce, your team gets dangerous at that point, because most tight ends are only going to be, you're hoping they score 10 points a game. And when you have somebody that can double that, it gets pretty interesting there. So I definitely like the running back route. I think where I differ a little bit, a lot of guys will go quarterback round 3, round 4, round 5. I like to wait till more round 8, round 9, trying to get those guys that I think quarterback gives you the biggest opportunity for a boom, and just going after running quarterbacks, especially. So a guy like Jalen Hurts, who I picked up last year in one of my leagues. I can't remember if it was this one or not, but he had a lot of big games where he was running the ball a lot. So I think waiting on a quarterback is something that I like to do as well. But honestly, I think running backs are the key piece in fantasy football. You got to take those. If you're in the top 5, you got to take a running back at the top tier there. But like I said, once you get around that 10, 11, 12, then you can start making arguments for Kelce, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, a guy like that, Mark Andrews potentially. But yeah, that's kind of my strategy. And then I always like to wait. Don't ever go too early on kickers or a defense. Get some bench depth before you try and fill out your roster. A lot of guys will just go in order. Okay, I've filled up my team now, or except defense kicker, I'm going to go get Justin Tucker and the Buccaneers defense. I think that's stupid. I think you need to go ahead and get like a handcuff running back, like let's say Ezekiel Elliott. You get him. Go ahead and get Tony Pollard to back him up. If you have somebody, if a Zeke gets hurt or kind of starts underperforming, you have that handcuff to help you out, and start getting that depth to fill out your roster first before you go chase a kicker like Justin Tucker, or go chase a defense that is going to be really good that year.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned those kind of at the end, because Tony Pollard was a guy I picked up and ended up starting a lot of weeks at the flex or at the second running back spot, because there was a few weeks there where Tony Pollard was sitting in that 15 to 20 range for a good while. Zeke was kind of cold.
And at the flex, if he's starting at your flex 15 to 20, that is money.
Well, he kind of turned into the receiving back a little bit. He was a little more of a slasher, and he'd bust a big play every now and then. He ended up being a key part. And then I'm in the same boat. I don't even think I drafted a kicker or a defense. I drafted a defense, but I gamed kickers like all year. I just switched them off waivers.
It's all situational too.
I ended up finding one. I can't remember who it was, but I ended up sticking with one for a good while, like 6 or 8 weeks, that I picked up off waivers that was money, in that double digit range, like every week. As far as drafting goes, it's all draft position, obviously. But when you're in that middle of the pack range, you can get very psychological with it. I remember last year, I want to say I was like 8th or 9th pick. So just kind of, which I don't know. It really doesn't matter. You're never happy where you are. I feel like, even if you're
because it's a snake draft too.
Yeah. I guess if you're the first pick, it's like, okay, I know I can get exactly who I want, in that case, that's good. But I think I was around 8th or 9th pick, and the top 5 running backs went off the board. At the time it was, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, fill in the blank, whoever else. So
Alvin Cook,
probably similar to the top 5 this year.
Basically,
probably,
Jonathan Taylor is the only guy that's jumped up in there.
Yeah, and then like McCaffrey, people might be a little more weary of him just because of the injury thing. But anyway, so I remember someone like either 7 or 8 right in front of me drafted Mahomes, and I immediately was like, all right.
It was Dispain, I believe. He took him round 1.
Yeah, well, and I said, you know what? I'm going to grab Aaron Rodgers because we're about to hit a quarterback train. So if I want like an elite quarterback, that's where you start playing with it a little bit, because if someone drafts a quarterback, then a couple other guys draft a quarterback, and it's like, okay, the elite guys that are going to get you 40 or 50 every now and then are gone. If that's someone you want, I ended up getting Aaron Rodgers.
And he kind of had a down year though, didn't he? Well, he finished strong, but started off a little slow, right?
Yeah, well, he had like negative points the first game, but then he ended up being like QB3, I think, in the entire league. So yeah, it ended up good for me. But I think somehow, you know what happened? Then a quarterback train hit, And then you kind of threw everything off. And I think I still ended up getting Aaron Jones in the second round, who was like at least top 10 back projected, and ended up being really good.
Yeah, he's RB11 this year, so he's still hovering around that top 10.
And I'm gonna talk a little more about him when we get into the boom or bust. But yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you can have all your charts and everything and the players you want. You have to play the game, see who's drafting who, and you have to kind of decide. All right, because every year I have in like the 4th or 5th round, you're between 2 or 3 guys and you're like, all right, I'm going to bank on this guy not being drafted for a round or something. And I'm going to get this other guy I really want. And then, it slowly goes and you see that guy get taken up and then everything's ruined that you were thinking about. So play the game. I go best available most of the time. Yeah, Trushel, I agree with you. That top 5, go with a running. Like, what's funny too is I think Jack Hancock took Derrick Henry number 1.
Yeah, and which I was happy about.
Everyone was like, oh, PPR league, like he doesn't know what he's doing. I'll tell you what, I mean, obviously Derrick Henry ended up getting injured. But
for those first 7 games, he was rocking.
That's the thing. Forget PPR with Derrick Henry, because the thing is he's going to score multiple touchdowns a game and probably get to, like, it's not that big of a deal that it's a PPR league. Like Derrick Henry if he's Derrick Henry this year, I'm taking him number 1, like if I get that number 1 pick, I'm probably taking Derrick Henry.
Yeah. And I mean, it ended up being lucky that he got hurt for some of the rest of us. But also, speaking of Jack Hancock, I did get one over him by trading Henry Ruggs the week before his incident happened. So I was able to dump off Henry Ruggs, luckily, to Jack. And I was also, Calvin Ridley was in those talks of trading to Jack as well. So I could have pulled off the ultimate heist of sending off Ruggs and Calvin Ridley, but I ended up keeping Calvin Ridley, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just because, and stuff like that, you just never know what's going to happen. So a lot of it comes down to luck. A lot of it comes down to waiver order too, because whenever guys get hurt through the first 3 games, whenever that second or that running back, that second string running back comes in and he's top of the waiver order, if you're at the bottom because you were making some plays, tooling with your lineup too early, you can screw yourself. So there's some other stuff like that pops up, and a lot of luck comes into play. Honestly, I mean, I have a strategy, but you're like the saying goes, you can have a strategy, but when Mike Tyson punches you in the face, all bets are off. Your strategy's off. So you just got to roll with the punches at that point. So a lot of it comes down to luck for sure.
Definitely.
But why don't we get into the boom or bust talk here? This year, there's a lot of guys who are booming, a lot of guys who are busting. That is the nature of fantasy football. And I will kick us off. You guys keep researching and looking through these rankings as I go off here. But I'm thinking the biggest, maybe not the biggest boom, but I'm going to go 2 wide receivers here, and for my boom and my bust. So my boom here is Rashad Bateman for the Baltimore Ravens is going to be a big boom this year. Now, while the Ravens run a very run-heavy offense with the loss of Marquise Brown, who ended up getting traded to Arizona, and he actually just had an incident where he got arrested for going 120 miles an hour and is facing like felony charges, something like that recently. So his situation is scary, but Rashad Bateman, who he missed the first 5 games last year with injury. I think Lamar is due for a bounce back season in terms of passing, going to put up numbers like he did in his MVP season, potential 35 touchdowns. A lot of those are going to go to Bateman and Mark Andrews. But I think Bateman is a guy that you can get in that 8th round, 7th round, 9th round, potentially, that could end up filling that wide receiver 1, that wide receiver 2 spot. So I'm thinking there that he's going to end up with 1,000+ receiving yards, potential of 10+ touchdowns. So he is projected as a top 30 wide receiver. I'm thinking he's going to finish around top 15, top half of the league. So excited to see what Bateman will do there. Some guy that I will definitely be looking to take in the late rounds. One of the busts here that I'm going to talk about was a bust last year as well. He was drafted pretty high This guy hits home for us, boys. A.J. Brown for the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be a bust this year in Philly. They have Devontae Smith, who put up decent numbers, nothing great. Jalen Hurts, I think he has the potential to put up good numbers as a running quarterback, but he is not going to be a big passer, kind of passing quarterback here this season. I just don't see it in him. He's a gamer. He makes plays, but he's not going to put up gaudy numbers. I could see A.J. Brown with another 800-yard, 6-touchdown type of season while missing 3 or 4 games throughout that. So I'm thinking he's going to fail to live up to some of these expectations in Philly. It's going to be a weird new system for him, even though he's been training a little bit with Jalen Hurts. And I found out Jalen Hurts even tried to, I believe, recruit A.J. Brown to Alabama when he was there, because they had known each other apparently, but that didn't work out. Obviously went to Ole Miss. So I think the Eagles are really going to rely on that ground and pound type of philosophy from the offensive standpoint. Jalen Hurts is going to feed right into that. AJ Brown, bust, not going to perform this year. Sorry, AJ, you made the wrong decision. Should have stayed with Tennessee. Shouldn't have asked for 20 million, 25 million, whatever you got. So those are my 2 boom and bust players of the year.
I was leaning towards AJ. I wasn't going to do it just because, I don't want to sound like sour grapes, but I think he's in for a little not even a setback. Like, I don't think he'll do bad. I just think it'll be similar. I think it'll be similar to last year. Like, I don't see him having a big jump in production. And last year he had about 850 yards. And yeah, that's because he missed time. Like, but I think I don't expect him to not miss time again. Will, you want to go into it, or you want me to rock it out here?
Go for it.
All right. I want to stick. We were talking about the Lions earlier. I got a little tight end, a little TJ Hawkinson love.
I like that.
On my breakout player. Him and another tight end I was thinking about is this is a Razorback shout out, Hunter Henry, in his about 3rd year, I think, with the Patriots. He's been pretty solid. I think hit Mac Jones' 2nd year, he'll have a pretty strong that outlook, or that offense is pretty favorable for tight ends. In terms of who I truly like is like I think Debo is awesome. I think he's just the way they use him in their offense is awesome. He's fun to watch play. So he'd be another, I think, a boom for me here. In terms of bust, I think I'm looking at it here. I don't like to be too negative, but I'll go with a Tyreek Hill bust year.
Oh, I like that.
And that's just because he is very elite, and I think he'll even have a decent year. I just don't think it'll nearly compare to what he's done with Pat Mahomes. I just think he'll be bottled up, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I'd actually hope to be wrong. I kind of like Miami, but I think Tyreek's in for a little bit of a bust year.
Dude, you named so many names that I was.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
No. I'm not even that I was going to say necessarily, but you saying Hunter Henry just reminded me. I picked up Hunter Henry off of waivers last year, and he scored a touchdown. And I was like, all right, cool. Let's keep this rolling. I think he scored a touchdown like 8 out of the 9 next weeks. And every week I'd look on the little fantasy, you can click on a player if they've written fantasy articles about him. And every single week, I think it was after the 3rd week, they kept saying, there's no way he can keep this up. Like, he's just not that, like, he's not that guy. Like, he's not going to keep scoring touchdowns. And I was like, screw that. He's still scoring. I'm not taking him out.
Yeah.
And it just kept paying off. And I agree with you, because it seems like Jonnu wasn't what the answer they were looking for. And Hunter Henry became kind of the favorite red zone target for Mac Jones. And that's what they like to run down there. So I expect him to keep scoring touchdowns. Will it be like last year? I don't know, but
he had 9 last year, almost double digits. So he produced.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a double-digit touchdown guy. Like, if that happened this year. I don't know if they added anyone else as a tight end, that is. I know they added, I think, Devontae Parker, which I was thinking about putting on my boom just because that may be something that Mac Jones was missing that now might turn into a major target for him, but I'm going to stay away from it. My boom, I'm actually going to go with Cortland Sutton.
Nice.
The Broncos.
Nice.
I like that.
I think
I ain't thought about old court out there.
Yeah. Well, because I think
Russ.
I mean, obviously Russ is the big difference, right? And I think Russ is going to go to him more than he is to Jerry Jeudy. I just think he's going to have kind of more eyes for him. Cortland Sutton had a pretty good year last year. I had some stats up. I actually want to see if I can pull them up real quick.
Cortland Sutton had a pretty good year outside of injuries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like weeks 2 to 7 averaged about 14 points per game. He ended kind of middle of the pack for receivers and kind of a more run heavy offense. And it says here the Broncos threw the ball in just 56% of the plays a season ago. So you're going to see that number.
Their passing offense was terrible too.
Yeah. I just think having an elite downfield passer like that is going to just do wonders for him.
You're going to get closer to 65%, I think, in terms of passing the ball this year.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
I think.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, never mind. I was gonna say another bust, but you haven't even got it. I can't throw another.
Well, real quick, I will say another guy who I think will make a little jump that I really liked last year that ended up kind of being a mid-round pick that ended up being a really consistent starter for me was Michael Pittman Jr. with the Colts. And I think he'll be he'll be the true number one there. And I do think Matt Ryan is still somewhat of an upgrade from last year's Phillip Rivers. And I think
last year was Wentz, bro.
Oh shoot, yeah, sorry. We started.
That's what I'm saying. They are in that's 3 straight years of these quarterbacks that they've thrown out there.
Yeah, we were talking Rivers. That's what made me think of it. But yeah, obviously, I do think Matt Ryan is actually an upgrade from Carson Wentz as well. And we've seen Matt Ryan loves his top targets. I mean, that's not necessarily a secret, but it's like when he has a top target, he's throwing it to him as much as possible. And I think Michael Pittman Jr. is that guy. I was going to also say Tyreek Hill for my bust just because I don't love Tua. I think Jalen Waddle is also kind of the same kind of guy Tyreek Hill is. So that's
last year too. I had Waddle on my team. I loved him.
Right. And it's the same style of play. Like it's different. Like Tyreek Hill, I guess you had Mecole Hardman. That's not really, I wouldn't say that's quite comparable, but he was like the slasher and the burner for the Chiefs. You had all these other guys doing other things. Now you kind of have him and Waddle who are kind of in similar play styles trying to get balls from Tua of all people. So I'm thinking he takes a little bit of a dip. And then I had a running back. I think I'll just go with Christian McCaffrey. I think that may not be a shocker to a lot of people just because he is injured all the time, but I'm not drafting Christian McCaffrey high just because he can't prove to me that he's going to stay healthy at all. So I'm staying away from Christian McCaffrey unless it's unless just everyone's thinking the same thing and you can get him in a later round. But I think he's still a first round guy that people will pick up. So I'm staying away from him.
Yeah. And I mean, fantasy pros still have Christian McCaffrey as running back number 2. So definitely a lot of people are on that McCaffrey train.
It's kind of wild that he's still got that kind of clout after being hurt.
He's
been consistently hurt the last 2. I know, but that's a huge if at this point.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he has been consistently missing a lot of games.
Well, and if you're saying running back 2, it's like, okay, take him number 2. Like running back 1 goes, take Christian McCaffrey. It's like, are you willing, like if he's truly, like if that's your second pick, do you feel confident in that at all? Like you want as much of a sure thing as possible. And I guess you can make the argument with Derrick Henry, but I mean, he had one injury last year and it's like, it is Derrick Henry. Like he's a different human. McCaffrey has continuously gotten injured. I don't think I could gamble on that.
Yeah. See, I think another guy that'll have a little dip, I'm not even saying he'll be a true bust, but like Davante Adams in like when you go from playing with Aaron Rodgers and being his number 1 target to
his only guy, really.
Yeah. To anyone else, I feel like you're definitely going to have a bump down in production. And that's not even a slight. See, I could almost say I think Derek Carr will have a boom because I think he actually will have a pretty good season under McDaniels with some good, obviously upgraded weapons. That offense should be pretty good with Walt. They got good tight ends, good receivers,
good running back.
Yeah. So, but I think from Davante Adams' perspective is he was probably just a little bit of a down, a little bit of a down year, but that's just kind of the nature of, and switching teams and everything too is just different. So look for receivers. I'm projecting receivers that were on the move to have down years, and the receivers that are still around to have good years, I guess. But
yeah,
could be wrong. It's just, some of those guys have produced at a seriously high level. Like, it's hard to even put AJ in the category of those guys because AJ's not really like, Davante Adams has had great years stacked on top of each other for a while now. It's hard to replicate that extreme high level of success, and you can't just drop that into a new offense and it automatically click to that high of a level. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I actually had you saying Davante Adams, talking about the Packers. That's what I meant to talk about. Aaron Jones as well. Not necessarily a boom, but so I had Aaron Jones on my fantasy team last year, like I mentioned, and he was very, some games he'd have 30 points, some games he'd have 8 points, but for the most part was pretty consistent. The most angering thing for Aaron Jones owners was they get down to that 2-yard line, and probably 70% of the time, big AJ Dillon comes in.
Yep.
Or they give AJ Dillon the ball a couple times and he'd get rolling, and they say, hey, let's keep feeding the beast, and he'd get all the touchdowns and everything. So AJ Dillon is kind of that good. He's a good kind of handcuff back to have, like you mentioned, Trucial. But I will say this. They did love throwing it to Aaron Jones, which was huge. And
he did have big receiving numbers.
They love doing kind of those, you get inside the 5 and you end up throwing a swing pass to Aaron Jones and he walks in for the touchdown. They love doing that. And Aaron Jones just got paid. And not everyone thinks about this, but when a guy gets paid, you want to make sure you're paying him like he's worth the money. So they're going to make sure he gets the touches as well. They're going to make sure he has the opportunity to score a lot of touchdowns and to get a lot of yards. So what did you say, Trucial? He's sitting at 11 right now as far as
running back 11. Yep.
Like, I think that's good. I still think Aaron Jones is a top 10 back, even with AJ Dillon having a pretty good year last year and kind of emerging as a true sidekick to him, I guess you could say, because I wouldn't even call him a number 2 necessarily, because I think AJ Dillon's still going to be a solid back to have as kind of your filler back.
Yeah, AJ Dillon's sitting at running back 25. So, I mean, in a 12-person league, you have 2 starting running backs. He's just outside that running back 2 conversation. So, yeah, a lot of people are pretty high on AJ Dillon this year as well, just because, like you said, that touchdown scoring ability.
You could legitimately have both of them in a game and like do well. Like there's a chance both of those guys are 20 and teens in a game.
100%, especially
I drafted AJ Dillon his rookie year. I love that guy.
I really like AJ Dillon.
I loved it at Boston College,
6',
dude.
250. He was big
awesome
boy.
at Boston College. So fun to watch. Just a beast.
Outside of Derrick Henry, I think that's the last dude you want to tackle. Like in the Green Bay in the cold, man, AJ Dillon running downhill. That dude is.
I actually think I might have less chance of tackling AJ Dillon.
Yeah,
he's so lower half heavy.
Because he's shorter than Derrick Henry, but similar weight.
If I could get Derrick Henry before he got going, if I was playing D-line and I just got on my knees and grabbed his ankles, it might be the only chance I have. AJ Dillon's just shrugging me off with his legs. Like I can't get high enough to tackle him high. So I have to go low and you just would get blown to shreds. His legs are huge.
Yeah. So I was just looking at AJ Dillon's numbers here. I didn't realize he had 1,100 yards from scrimmage last year.
It's impressive. That's a lot. That's it. That is impressive.
That's a lot for being the second back.
Yeah, 1,100 yards from scrimmage, and then Aaron Jones had 1,200. So, like you said, Will, you could certainly put the argument of having both those guys if they're putting up both 1,000 yards plus on the season. And those are guys you want on your team.
I think they just balance it so well, and I do think Aaron Jones will turn into more of. I mean, he won't be a slot receiver, but it'll be kind of like that, especially with Davante Adams gone. Who's the number 1 receiver there now? Lazard?
Yeah, Lazard.
And no offense to him, but you're going to need to use those running backs a lot more, I think. So I think if one of those guys is in your draft, I mean, I don't know where you want to pick him necessarily. Aaron Jones would probably be a little higher, obviously. But both of those will be pretty valuable picks at some point in your draft.
Oh, wait, no. So, Lazard, I think, is number 1, but they also have Sammy Watkins on the opposite side there.
That's
with
a terrible number.
Randall
What
Cobb
was
in the
Sammy
slot.
Watkins was like number 4 receiver for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
That's
he
right,
he
he was
always
with the
has a
Chiefs.
couple of like good games. I think he even had like 30 points to open the year and then just was trash the rest of the season, something like that.
He's getting kind of up there, is he not? I feel like he's got to be kind of old now.
He's 29, so football
Well,
years.
that's
But
not
I
that
mean,
bad.
30 is kind of old for football years.
For a receiver, maybe.
Yeah, for a mediocre at best, like not mediocre. He's been a good for a decent receiver.
Kind of.
Like he hasn't. Yeah. I mean, he's been good. He's been on a.
He's had 1,000
He's not been
yards
as good as he got
season.
drafted. See, that's the thing with guys. They get drafted in the top 10,
Yeah,
and then they have like decent careers. Like it's just like, well, they were a bust. But it's like, well, I mean, at this point, he's been in the NFL 7-8 years now, been a consistent starter. He's been pretty, but yeah, he's not like he's not
he had
your true number 2
394
receiver
yards
right now, and be like
season.
excited about it.
So he's definitely in the downturn, but who knows? Maybe being in Green Bay, having Aaron Rodgers, he takes a little upturn and has a late resurgence.
Be hard not to think but what he would go from Mahomes to.
Well, he was on Baltimore last year,
okay,
so
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
He had 1 year in Baltimore, and didn't even. But he was hurt a decent bit of the season though last year, and he's had injury problems. Yeah, he hasn't played a full season since his rookie year.
Dang. Part of his thing too was he came out with DeAndre, right? DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
Did they come out the same year, or was Hopkins like a year older or younger? Something like that.
So I want to say Hopkins was a year before him.
Hopkins is older.
Yeah, Hopkins went 2013, and then Watkins went 2014, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and they just came out around the same time, both from Clemson. And Watkins was the one who was, I mean, getting almost like Heisman, consideration and stuff. So that's got to be kind of part of his thing too. But yeah, I didn't realize he hadn't played a full year. That is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so Hopkins is 1 year older, and man, the year or the career he's had compared to Watkins, a lot better, I'd say.
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins has been amazing. He's been fantastic. He's probably honestly got overlooked because he played on some really bad Texans teams, but he's been phenomenal.
He's been pretty incredible
for a long time.
I think his last or second to last year on the Texans, I think he would be my number 1 guy for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make the argument obviously, but he was ridiculous. Him and Deshaun Watson. I mean, the Texans were serious. I mean, they were a problem.
Yeah. When he had Deshaun there for a minute, they were good. That offense was good at least.
Yeah.
2017, he had 1,400 yards, led the league with 13 touchdowns, and then 2018, almost 1,600 yards with 11 touchdowns. So,
I mean, that's crazy.
When Watson and Hopkins are on the field together, it can be a nightmare for the opposing team.
Yeah.
Too bad they're not together anymore.
Yeah, Deshaun. Well,
sorry, Texans.
how many how many games did he get suspended? 6.
Yeah, but aren't they?
They were. Yeah, somehow.
He might.
This is how messed up the NFL is. They outsourced their penalty giving because
some judge.
Everyone has had so much problems with like the way they give out punishment. So they outsource. This is a difficult case. So they outsource their suspension. And then based on prior NFL rulings, the judge that they picked to rule on the case gave a 6-game suspension. And then the NFL appeals that suspension, which is just the funniest thing ever. It's like,
why are you appealing?
You decide. Yeah, you were the ones that decided this is the best way to make policy, and then you're repealing like the first big decision that they try to make. And they're making decisions. They're appointed by you, and they're making decisions based on your prior decisions. And you're going to get mad when they make a 6-game suspension because now it's bad optics for he only got suspended 6 games. So they got to be like upset. And now they're going to appeal it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
The thing is it's like, I don't even I mean, you have all this controversy over how long he should be suspended and stuff. I really don't care how long they suspend Deshaun Watson, but the problem comes is when the NFL has, I do get it because the NFL has suspended other guys for way lesser offenses for way longer.
Yeah.
And that's where they really screwed themselves. It's like
Calvin Ridley got screwed.
Yeah,
for his
that
suspension.
is the
so
one.
messed up.
He is the face of what comes to mind right now.
Yeah.
Is definitely Calvin Ridley.
A
Him and
full
Josh
season
Gordon,
for betting
probably.
on your own team to win. Like, I get it if you bet on your team to lose, but he bet on them to win.
And
I think
such
that should
little
be
money.
allowed. Yeah, it
Such
was like
little
a couple
money.
$1,000, right? That was it.
Yeah, 1,500 I think is the number I've seen, and that is such like to lose a whole season over that is just we said it was absurd when it happened, but in light of this decision, it just looks even
It's
more
atrocious. Yeah.
more just insane. Like, seriously, what are you valuing? This guy's been accused by over 20 women of various crimes. Like it's an interesting criminal case, but like bad deviant sexual crimes that are atrocities against women, like a bad things, he's done. And the severity of the legal action against him is curious, but for the league to take such a soft stance, 6 games, almost like just a tiny slap on more than a slap on the wrist, essentially. And then you take out a guy, it's very easy to point to Calvin Ridley because that's like the latest big suspension I feel like I can remember, of a star player. But missing a whole season.
I don't know
and
how
it
they
just
came
doesn't
to
even
that.
seem on par. It just seems so
It's
crazy,
ridiculous.
different levels of judgment.
Well, it's like, how did you get there? If it was $100, would it have been one game or something? Like, I just don't understand how you got there.
It doesn't make any sense.
And you promote, the NFL literally promotes gambling.
They love gambling.
They love gambling. They promote it all the time.
Yeah, it's not like he's blowing games or something. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And he already wasn't playing in the first place, right? Wasn't he injured for the beginning of the season, or at least?
I don't even know. Like, but if they would have suspended him for like 3 or 4 games, I don't think anyone would have thought about it a whole lot. But to be like, no, you can't play is just ridiculous.
Full season is crazy.
I'm looking at some of this. So Calvin Ridley, 17 games for betting. Vontaze Burfict, 12 games for targeting. DeAndre Hopkins, 6 games for PEDs. Martavis Bryant, indefinitely for weed. Josh Gordon, 25 plus games for weed. Darren Waller, a season for substance abuse. Deshaun Watson, 6 games, 25 sexual assault accusations.
Oof.
Yeah, that sounds really bad.
I mean, yeah, just reading off that list, like,
I would say the Josh.
He screwed up like over and over again. So
it's like, yeah, if you have a drug test and you just keep failing, like, yeah, I mean, they're going to keep suspending you. Like, I don't think it should be tested for, but at the same time, it's like, the rules and you just continue to fail every time. Like, you're going to get suspended.
Yeah.
At least that
Ray
is
Rice
fair.
was
Probably
suspended 2 games. Adrian Peterson, when he beat his kid, was suspended for 6 games.
Ray Rice is interesting because he only got suspended a few, but he did get out of the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zeke, we forget about him. He was suspended 6 games for domestic violence. And then DeAndre Hopkins, 6 games for PEDs. Calvin Ridley, 17 games, betting on a game he didn't play in.
That is kind of tough to swallow from the NFL. More just inconsistency with the league.
Dang. Yeah. NFL, man. It's crazy. NFL or NCAA, take your pick.
For overall enjoyment in my life.
Organizational decisions.
Both are pretty bad.
Both are terrible. What's better?
Yeah.
Probably the NFL.
It's kind of just,
NCAA
I was just kind of talking, but yeah.
The NCAA as an the power of the organization is terrible.
Yeah.
At least the NFL is such a huge business. It doesn't have as much muddling the waters of the NFL. Like, the NFL is just football. The NCAA just, it gets so many things intertwined. Or, even if you just say college football, it's different because it's college. Like, it quite literally is tied to a university. instead of just being its own entity of a football team. But in personal enjoyment, I probably take college football, to be honest.
Oh, well, yeah, me
I'm
too.
drawn a little. Pro football is awesome because it is the best of the best competing at the highest level. Like, and you have the best, you have the best coaches, and it's awesome to watch. But the absurdity and the insanity that ensues in college football is just,
and the
it's too good.
tailgating experience of college
It's too
football
good. It's too
out rivals
too
NFL by
good.
a mile. Like
Yeah.
being on a college campus for a game day, I'll take that any day of the week over going to Nissan. Straight up, honestly.
Yeah.
Nissan is very fun, but and tailgating is fun, but
It's a different experience. Yeah.
Being on Tennessee's
More
campus
professional.
for a game in Neyland, hundreds of thousands of people there, or 800,000, maybe not hundreds of thousands, but hey, well, maybe, I don't know. It could have reached the 200,000 point. There's a lot of people that like to go to Cool Beans and uptown.
There's hundreds of thousands of people there. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. If you have 100,000 in the stadium, like there's people out there that are just tailgating.
Just townies tailgating out there.
Yeah. Have y'all seen Seth? I don't know if Arkansas has done it, but I've noticed Nebraska and Tennessee players have basically created an NIL website at multiple schools for just anyone
awesome.
to donate money monthly.
Yeah. They got something going over there.
I might have to do the 25 a month.
I think I'm going to, honestly. And I think that's really cool because now you truly have these fan bases, these massive fan bases of story programs are going to start throwing in money. And that's like, I'm going to legitimately be able to help the Nebraska football program. You know what I mean?
Now you
like
have
that.
a vested
Help it
interest,
at the
so
roots,
you can
too.
truly say
You're not donating to the university or anything. No, this is going right to the players. Like,
Yeah.
Let's go. I like that. I
do
do
think it's
appreciate that I can do that.
Yeah, I think it's funny too because Trushel, who did so for Nebraska, you can do 25 plus monthly or 100 plus monthly, and there's some incentives that go with that. Trushel, what was the jersey that Tennessee?
It was Hendon
giving out?
Hooker, but I like Nebraska's a little bit more since they went old school with it.
See, but so Nebraska did. So if you donate 100 plus a month, you get a steak dinner with the players, which I think is
Vols
cool.
did that too. I might have to shell out the 100.
I know. I'm thinking about it, man.
Go eat a steak dinner with the team. That would be awesome.
That'd be hilarious. But then 25 plus, you get a free Will Compton jersey, Nebraska Will Compton jersey. And honestly, I looked at it and I was like, man, no offense, but I don't really want a Will Compton jersey. I was like, I want to like donate and then be like, can I get a different jersey? But I feel like I don't know. I hope Will Compton doesn't hear this. I'll feel really bad about it, but
it's okay.
I'm
yeah,
sure
that is
he's
a
doing
weird.
just
You
fine.
need to hype up the current players.
Either do a current one or do like a true legend.
Yeah, dude, true legend.
We've got 3 Heisman winners. Like, do one of them or do Tommy Frazier or Ndamukong Suh or something. Like,
yeah,
I get it.
Do a Sue jersey.
Will Compton's hot. I get it. So, but I don't know. That doesn't get like me. That doesn't incentivize me necessarily to give more than $20.
Damn. So the Vols and their Knoxville NIL club already have 273 active members donating before the season. So
I'm going to see what Nebraska's is.
Directly support 105 plus Tennessee football players and join the ultimate fan experience. I love that. Yeah. So there's all kinds of different rewards you can get. So there's even the Knoxville NIL club offers a minimum $5 donation monthly. So even if you just want to get involved with the team, get a couple of like cool little things, you can do it.
Yeah, that's what Nebraska looks like. This site has 81 members. And I wanted to see if it showed total revenue, but it just says they do it by month. So since the month just started, they're at like $2,000 right now. But I wonder what they get per month because it says they have a $50,000 a month goal, which I feel like they could hit for sure, especially now that it's just starting.
I'm running some math. How many people in that when you say, Will?
There's 81 members donating.
See, if there's only 81 members, I don't think they're hitting 50,000. But the thing that
They're
the
still
thing you
The thing is
if
it
they
just
start doing
started
well,
though too.
if the team starts doing well, I feel like a lot of people are going to jump on
and
that
I do
bandwagon.
forget that. I mean, you could have one great donor that's getting you over that line every month.
Well, the thing is like there might be donors who don't do this. Like you could have donors that are just giving $1 million to the football program, you know?
Yeah, no, that for sure. But I'm also just saying you could have a few big, like, you know, a few people funding. Yeah, they meet your 50,000 goal. They only have 81 members, but 2 members give 15,000 a month, you know,
So
something like that.
even just for $5 a month to become a member, it says you will get frequent Zoom calls with players on the team for the Knoxville NIL club. $5 a month to Zoom chat with like Hendon Hooker and Cedric Tillman. I mean, that would be
We should
pretty
pay
epic.
it as Pay Dirt Sports and get them on during our time.
That's got to be but that's got to be
it's a webinar where you can't even
Yeah.
show your face. I bet. Yeah.
Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, we'll pay a little extra.
Hendon Hooker hops on a Zoom and with like 1,000 people and just is like, "What's up, guys? Like, how's it going?"
And you just type in the chat like, "Hey, Hendon!" Like, I can just imagine so many like Knoxville townies freaking out. Like, just what is that one? Andy Bowser. You know who I'm talking? VFL Andy.
Yeah,
that guy
I
on
think
Twitter. So. He's like the weirdest looking, like nastiest Vol fan that exists on Vol Twitter. That's who I just think of will certainly be participating in every single one of those Zoom calls.
Oh, Nebraska, 82 members now. Some guy just gave $100.
Nice.
Dang. Right as we were talking about it. Hey, maybe someone is listening in on our podcast. They hacked us and thought it was a great idea to jump on the Nebraska NIL train.
Yeah, man, I'm seriously considering. I probably want to do 100 a month. I'm seriously considering the 25 a month though.
I'm seriously considering it too, because I mean, so how long is the college football season? So you go, I'd wait until September. So September, October, November, December, January. That's 5 months. So I mean, $125 for a jersey, not bad.
Well, I'm like, but how long are you tied? I don't know how long you're tied in for it. Like, do you have to stay? Like, because technically, yeah, you could just put in $25 and like get a jersey, right? But I assume you probably have to stay tied in for a certain amount. I don't know. I don't know how it works, honestly.
Maybe, yeah, you'll have to test it out and do it.
Yeah, I think I might. All right, boys. Well, I think I'll wrap us up. Guys, thanks again for listening. This has been Pay Dirt Sports, part of the Six Pack Coverage Network. Be sure to check them out, sixpackcoverage.com, at sixpackcoverage on Instagram and Twitter. Check us out. paydirtsports.blog is the website. Instagram at paydirtsports, Twitter at paydirt_sports. Guys, thanks again for listening. Football's back. We'll see you all next week.
It's back, baby. Pay Dirt out.